Hello there, guys, it's Jesse, and today I am joined by my very special guest and longtime compadre, the one, the only Pride. Hello, sir.
What's going on,
Today,
guys?
we have reconvened for a look at patch 4.3. Why? Because so many of you liked our look at the possible, maybe, but it's going to be what's going to be expansion, that, a lot of you wanted us to cover 4.3 because it is major lore-y, and there's a ton of stuff coming out in it, and he and I pretty much can cover everything that's going to be in it, and give you like a once-over of what it's about, and what to expect. So, spoilers galore involved here. We probably will spoil Twilight of the Aspects for you, sorry, but you've had plenty of time to read it. We will not spoil anything from Wolfheart, since that just came out. But if you want to get kind of, like, teensy spoiled, either later today or tomorrow we'll upload an interview with Richard A. Knack about that book. So, yeah, look forward to that. Anyway, let's get down to details. Let's get into this. Also, let me say this in advance. Should you want some more information, like lore-wise, or pretty much anything about WoW, I would go check out The Smoking Gamer over on YouTube's. We'll put a link like up on the screen there. That is Pride's badass channel. Check it out, because he like does. But wait, there's lore and all sorts of other things there. I'll let him plug at the end. But anyway, so
Why do it if you do it for me?
I know, right? Anyway, now that we've gotten all the pleasantries out of the way, let's get down to business here. Yeah, patch 4.3. They just released information today about this. It's being put up on all the different websites. Hopefully, we'll give you a little different take on what we've seen so far. And you guys will be like, all right now, okay, this is pretty sweet. Can't wait. Let's start with the fact that it's 3 dungeons, 1 raid, a bunch of storified cutscenes and things like that. We have the Dark Moon Isle. There's the Dungeon Raid Finder system. And more importantly, things that kind of let us down, I guess, a little, are there's no updates for Silithus, and there's no updates for Dustwallow. So for those of you like me who played through every zone and were like, how come they didn't change these at all when they seem like they would be the most change-worthy, right? Like, there's a massive war going on, and Jaina Proudmoore just doesn't care that, like, the dude on one side who she's secretly in love with and the dude on the other side are, like, fighting. She doesn't care. And Silithus, home of the old gods, who in the comic books, Cho'Gall was, like, wrecking face there, no change at all. So that kind of is sort of a disappointment. No updates for the classic dungeons, sorry. And apparently, this is directly what they said, other plot holes will continue to be filled when they feel the time is right. So if there's anything that we don't cover, it's pretty much decided that they aren't going to deal with it yet. So, single masculine tear. Anyway, let's go back and talk about the dungeons, since those seem to be the most interesting. The first one, which I'll let Pride, go crazy with here, is the end time. Basically, here's the plot. We need to go back to the past to secure the demon soul, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe the demon soul is essentially the dragon soul. I don't even ask me about ancient WoW.
Do you want the quick version of this?
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay, so Deathwing, who at the time wasn't yet known as Deathwing, you've got the Burning Legion invading Azeroth. Basically, Deathwing goes and he convinces all of the other dragon aspects and all of the other the children of those dragon aspects, all the dragons basically, to give their essence, give the part of themselves into this little disc. It's called the Dragon Soul. And basically what Deathwing is going to do, he's going to take all the power of all the dragons and he's going to use it to defeat the Burning Legion and put them back into the Twisting Nether where they belong. But in reality, what actually happens is Deathwing has gone insane at this point in time, and he uses that to actually control and murder most of the dragons. Specifically, like 99% of the blue dragonflight as a whole is wiped out by this thing called the Dragon Soul. And so the dragons rename it the Demon Soul.
Okay, awesome. So now you guys have like a background of the difference there. Needless to say, your storyline, your goal here is you, the player, are joining with Thrall and the dragons who, if you did that quest line where Thrall basically, like, marries Agra and all the Twilight flight shows up, and if you read Twilight of the Aspects, Thrall is basically like their champion. Thrall's their go-to guy. And so Thrall with the dragon aspects are basically trying to go back in time and secure the demon soul at the only point in time that they can, which is the Well of Eternity, right? And the Well of Eternity, there's a book, again, Richard A. Knack. Interview later on. Go look that up. Man, it's like double plug Monday. And anyway, yeah. So you're gonna go back in time to secure that for Thrall, and then Thrall's gonna use that with the dragon aspects to defeat Deathwing somehow. I'm not sure exactly how he intends to do that, but what happens here is that in order to go back in time, it turns out Nozdormu's like, something is up. Like, we can't get back in time. Something's blocking us from doing that. It turns out that it is, in fact, his future self, Morozund, I guess that's how you would say that, his future self, the corrupted infinite dragonflight version of himself, who you learn about in Twilight of the Aspects. That's why we said, gonna be lots of spoilers in this one. His future self blocks his past self from going further into the past, which is just all sorts of crazy, right? And so then you go to the future. It's not even the real future. It's the if it happens future. It turns out the first dungeon is called End Time. And what this is about is it's what happens if and when Deathwing succeeds and the Hour of Twilight occurs.
Yeah, the Hour of Twilight, I guess.
Yeah. And this is essentially after the fact. Hour of Twilight has happened. Deathwing has won. It's the scene that is repeated several times in Twilight of the Aspects, which is basically that Thrall, Ysera, sees this vision of the future, which is, again, told to the reader, the characters, by Nozdormu, that basically in the future, Deathwing wins. And the old gods rise up from their cages, their prisons, and take over Azeroth. But because they can't completely take it over until all the dragon aspects are dead, they take Deathwing and impale his ass on top of the dragon shrine. And the fact that that's in the game is amazing. Like, the screenshot of that is so freaking cool. So the old gods kill their champion. I don't know if Deathwing knew or even cared at this point because he's pretty much insane, but the old gods just are like, your time to go, foe. And so the old gods win. And in this end time, they don't have a list of any other bosses besides these, so I don't know if there are only 2 bosses in this place. I mean, it could happen. There's only been, I think that's the way it was in one of the dungeons before Ice Crown, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, so there's 2 encounters that we know of. The first is this Echoes phase, where basically you have Sylvanas, Tyrande, Jaina, Bane, Bloodhoof, and it's their shattered souls. I'm not sure what you would call these. Basically, it's like their spirits have been infused with something of their past. Like
some tragedy of some kind.
Well, it says, for example, like Jaina Proudmoore, her spirit has been infused with a shattered piece of her staff, right? And so I assume that somehow is left there after the end of the world. Like, I assume maybe the heroes went there to fight off whatever was about to happen, but they all got killed. And so their remains are there. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, like Bane might be one of the guys you fight. But either way it goes, you fight randomly one of those characters, so you don't really get to decide. So I'm sure there's going to be an achievement. But it's not like based
on faction or race or anything. It's just like random number generator goes, okay, who do we feel like putting you up against today?
At least that's what it says right here that I'm reading, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know. But I will say that, yeah, it's pretty much like what's the name of the chick in the Colosseum? And she basically had you fight a vision of your past. I cannot remember her name to save my life. But
I'm dying here with you then, because
it's just like that fight. Except these are, you know, there is no like, well, I'm going to test you. This is a twisted future where the Horde and Alliance both have lost. And hopefully there'll be some kind of, like, thing that happens where they realize, like, damn, we better get our acts together and stop killing each other, but who knows. Then after you beat on those characters, whichever one you get, the next thing that happens is you find out that, what the hell? I can't, Moruzond? That name's gonna drive me crazy. Moruzond. Basically, future Nozdormu, the leader of the Infinite Dragonflight. He is in the area as well. And apparently, this is that moment in the Twilight of the Aspects where he sees this vision. And so you're there to stop him from, you know, trying to stop you from going back in time. I don't understand what the Infinite Dragonflight storyline is here, because I know in the past the Infinite Dragonflight have tried to stop you from doing things because it was the belief that by doing so they would prevent the future. Like, stopping the orcs from coming would prevent, you know, thousands and thousands of dying. But at the same time, the orcs helped save the entire planet from the Burning Legion.
Well, really, the Infinite Dragonflight, I think, is trying to change. They're trying to change things, and then you're trying to keep them the same.
Right? No, yeah. I mean, they're trying to change what happened in the past because they somehow believe that it will manipulate the future enough to make things better.
Yes.
And I think what Nozdormu's crazy future self is thinking is that the world ended up like this because of all the events in the past. So maybe that's why he went back in time to change everything. Or that's why the Infinite Dragonflight was trying to change everything, because no matter what happens, if you don't change, this is the potential future. And, like, this is the one that he saw, so he's all, like, you can't, like, basically everyone dies. Remember how they said that he saw the hour of his death? And so maybe this is it. Like, he saw himself and all the other dragons get killed.
Well, yeah, because, you know, he's, you know, the time dude. So he knows when he was supposed to, he knows, I believe we actually get into this in, I think, Day of the Dragon a little bit, is that he knows when he's going to die and how he's going to die, and he can't do anything to stop it, even though he wants to. And I think that that's kind of where this Murazan dude comes out with the Infinite Dragonflight and whatnot. And I think that, you know, even when you take the name into consideration, Infinite Dragonflight, that it's a part of Nozdormu that doesn't want to die, and so he wants to live forever because, you know, he's, you know, time and all that stuff. So I think that that's kind of where the conflict comes into play with Nozdormu himself, is that he knows when and how he's going to die, and he knows that everything around him is going to die as well, but he can't change it, not because he doesn't have the ability to, but because it's not right to change it, because all things are meant to happen. However,
which is like every Back to the, like, movie that's like time travel movie. I mean, that's essentially the paradox in every movie like that. You can't, by changing something, you ruin something far worse than it would have been, or something like that. You know how that stuff works?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I guess it's understandable, but that'd be a really crappy existence. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, but see, now that Nozdormu knows that, and there's a part of Nozdormu that comes into play with Murazan that doesn't care if it's not right or if it's wrong or what have you. He wants to live forever, and so he's going to change it so that he can live forever. That would be my guess. However, Murazan also appears to be evil and wants to kill everybody, so I really don't understand
I don't know if he's
exactly
necessarily
what's going
evil.
on.
I don't know if he's necessarily evil. I would say more along the lines of he is one of those characters who is bad because he conflicts with the normal order of things. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
He wants to change the past. Like, he wants to stop the orcs from coming. He wants to stop Arthas's rise as the Lich King. All good things. I mean, all these things would save millions and millions of lives, but without those things happening, we would not be where we're at right now, which would then allow, the demons would have taken over a long time ago, or something else horrific would have happened. So by trying to change one past, he's causing another future. And so really, I think the idea here is that this character, no matter what, just cannot win. But he desperately thinks he can. Like, I have a feeling he'd be that character who changes one past, sees another past that ends up horribly, and tries to change that one, and eventually would just keep doing it over and over and over again, and there's no way he could win. So essentially, he cannot exist because the character, I mean, Morozund isn't, there's no way he can win. It's one of those things where you just have to put him down because it's the thing to do. Like, it's the nice thing to do in the situation. He would drive himself crazy.
Well,
I guess.
I think he already has driven himself crazy, and that's the point.
Touché. All right, so then, after you get done pounding on him, and I'm not sure how that ends, the next way this story goes is it sends you to part 2, which is just like in the Lich King dungeons, right? Where you go from one to the other, and then there's the raid. Part 2 is the Well of Eternity. There's a book about this. If you want to know everything that happened, there's plenty of background.
There's actually 3 books about this.
Yeah, I was about to say. but there's one specifically called the Well of Eternity you can go look up.
That's true. But it's the War of the Ancients. Yeah, it's the War of the Ancients trilogy.
And it involves all the characters you know and love if you did the new Mount Hyjal stuff. So all those, the spirits and like Logosh especially, like all those characters are involved. And so basically you go back 10,000 years in the past to the night elf capital of Zin Ajari, which is this beautiful, sparkling metropolis. And it turns out that this is where the Highborn reside, and they have been tricked pretty much by Xavius? Is that who the guy was? Yes, Xavius?
Yes, Lord Xavius.
And he is the guy who is sent by Sargeras to sort of... well, he's not sent. He's corrupted by Sargeras. He's a Highborn as well, but he's corrupted, and eventually he becomes the first satyr, which is down the line. But he gets corrupted, and he convinces all the Highborn that, you know what, these guys are, they're good people. These demons, they ain't so bad, right? And so they try to use the Well of Eternity as a massive gateway for the demons to come to Azeroth and take it over. As you all know from the Burning Crusade, the demons, that's their basic job. Like, Sargeras is a corrupt titan. He don't give a damn. He's a honey badger of evil. He don't give a damn. And so he goes around the galaxy, the universe, the nether, the twisting, whatever you call it, space, and takes over planets and warps them to his will and makes them evil demon planets, right? So, like, the old gods and him, they're, like, tied for the big bad. I don't know who's going to be the real big bad guy in the end, but they're, like, tied at the moment. And so...
I would say, considering that Sargeras is a former titan, that...
yeah, but I mean, we don't know how far, World of Warcraft's going to go. I'm talking about the end of... Because I guarantee there'll be, like, a Warcraft 4 somewhere down the line.
Oh, and I cannot wait.
I know. So, there, we don't know who's going to be, like, the major bad guy at the end of the WoW storyline. But what we do know is that Sargeras is trapped. He's locked away. And so, currently, Kil'jaeden and all of his dudes are out there trying to get back at us. But at this point in the past, 10,000 years ago, Sargeras was coming. You got all of his demons coming. He's at, like, full strength. And he's ready to roll. And so, this is a major, major point in time. And I will let you talk about what happened then story-wise.
All right, so basically 10,000, I think we're up to 10,067 years ago to be exact on it.
Okay then.
The Burning Legion senses the intense magic that is surrounding the Well of Eternity, and they decide that it is going to be a delicious slice of Azerothian cake. And so they decide to invade, take it over, and do all sorts of evil, maniacal things. They did not see that Azeroth would be just as difficult to take over as they thought. I think they thought it was going to be like any other planets, just be roll over, come in, destroy some things, leave, find another planet. However, Azeroth is one of those planets that just doesn't happen with. You've got too much stuff going on. So basically, at this point in time, you've got them coming in, and the high point in life right now, like the high society, would be the Night Elves at this point in time. And the Night Elves, of course, have control of the Well of Eternity. And this is where this is back in a time where Night Elves were mages before mages were let back in. But more or less, basically, the Burning Legion are coming in. They're trying to take it over. And at the same time, you've got Deathwing, who is being recently manipulated and driven mad and insane by the old gods, who are also trying to get out and get into the world. And so you have this culmination of the two ultimate baddies. You've got Sargeras and you've got the old gods. This is kind of when they culminate to a point where they're both trying to get out, and we've been reeling from this since this time. But basically, the Well of Eternity is the turning point for Azeroth. Like, if the Well of Eternity did not happen, nothing would be as it is right now. There wouldn't be 3 continents and an island somewhere called Pandaria. There wouldn't be the orcs. There wouldn't be any of, like, everything would be different. So what you have to realize is that this moment in time, 10,000 years ago, is the pivotal moment in Azerothian history. This brings everything together today. So with everything going on at this point in time, all right, Sargeras, the ultimate deal is they want Sargeras on the planet. And so they have to corrupt some folks. Specifically, they decide to corrupt the Highborn, the magic users in Night Elven society, to basically get them to open a portal. And they have to make that portal strong enough for arguably the most powerful being in the known universe to set his foot on Azeroth. And now some will argue that Sargeras has set his foot on Azeroth, and that's not true. It was a like a shadow of a Sargeras, or
like an avatar.
Yeah, like an avatar. And of course, Medivh's mother kicked him off the planet, his avatar off the planet, and whatnot. But the ultimate goal for these guys was to have Sargeras walk on Azeroth. And basically, you know, throughout the books and the story, the whole deal is if Sargeras steps his foot on Azeroth, Azeroth will be destroyed forever and ever and ever. Amen. So you've got this coalition of forces with the Night Elves. You've got Tyrande Whisperwind. You've got Malfurion Stormrage, and even a little bit of Illidan in there as well, who, you know, of course, Illidan's story is all weird and twisted and backstabbing, but he's good, and then he's bad, and it's just crazy. But more or less, you've got this coalition of forces. You've got Jared Shadowsong, who's the ultimate badass, in my opinion. And the Night Elves actually go and they align with the Tauren. They align with the Furbolgs. They align with the Earthen at the time, not then known as Dwarves. And you've got that coalition force. And basically the whole point of Well of Eternity is that it's this makeshift alliance versus the Burning Legion. And then you've got a third player that comes in called Deathwing, and basically what happens with that is all the dragon aspects realize that you know, Azeroth is in danger, and they can't necessarily count on the mortal races to handle this, because they're seeing the mortal races get wiped out left and right. I mean, at this point in time, this makeshift alliance hasn't won really any single battle against the Burning Legion. I mean, they're getting pushed back pretty hard. And so the dragon aspects decide that it's time they need to step in. And Deathwing comes up with this brilliant plan, which we talked about a little bit earlier, with the demon soul, or at that point in time, the dragon soul. And this is when he convinces all the dragons that that's what needs to happen. They need to imbue this disc with all of their power so that they can push the Burning Legion back for good. Well, as we know, Deathwing and all the other dragon aspects, they fly in, they swoop in like the United States Air Force, ready to bomb whatever country needs to be bombed, right? They're coming in hard. They're coming in fast, right? And so they get there, and then they're flying, and Deathwing just lets out this little chuckle and a smirk, and everything stops. Everything stops. Nothing can move. The only thing that can move is more or less Deathwing, and he's just kind of flying around, laughing his little ass off. And then he turns on the dragons and all that gets... Basically, he just unleashes all kinds of hell. And the dragons, they run away with their tails stuck between their legs and all that good stuff. And then eventually, the War of the Ancients comes to a close with this makeshift alliance and Krasus and Broxigar and all these other guys that come back from the future. And so, there you go. So... The War of the Ancients is it's kind of it's similar to what we're doing now because they sent some people back in time, and now we're sending people back in time, and
which makes me wonder if where we fit into that, because you're right. The way the story ends is characters are sent back in time from the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that's us now? Like, are we going to be in the body of Broxigar or something, or are we going to be with him? Like, it's one of those things where I don't quite understand where we fit into the storyline, because you're right, up to that point, you know, we're getting our asses kicked. Deathwing comes in, and he's now controlled by the old gods. So basically, he is like, gotcha, bitches. Right? Yeah. And now it's pretty much looks like this is going to be the end. Then people from the future come back to save the day.
Well, I mean, the people of the future had been there for a while.
Right. But
yeah, I mean, literally, they sent people. They sent Broxigar. I want to say, yeah, they sent Broxigar, Krasus, and Ronan back in time to handle this mess. So and we've had, you know, we've gotten them to say that is the timeline that we're living in. So we're living in the timeline that they went back in time to.
So again,
so now
we're
going
fighting
back
alongside them, because I know they've released images of Illidan and Ysera being there, and the corrupted well, and all sorts of different things. But they haven't shown whether we get to fight alongside the other characters that come back. Like,
I will say this: if I get to fight alongside Broxigar, I will cream, because Broxigar, as much as I dislike the Horde as a whole, Broxigar is my homie. Like, I love that kid.
So and it's interesting, because then you have characters like Crassus who no longer exists in our timeline. Maybe that's a spoiler I won't go into, but
well, that's something you're going to spoil in the Q&A with Knack.
Oh, that's right. All right, yeah. So Crassus is dead. Yeah, he's dead, and so he'd be back there in the back. So I think that'd be a great send off to all these characters who we haven't seen up to this point. Who, if you've read every book, you know pretty much what's going on.
Well,
anyway,
every book written by Knack, anyway,
it has to do with this. But I'm talking about this point in time. So let's talk about the actual dungeon. There are 3 bosses to this thing. There's a Highborn who is, you know, fiendish master of magic, and apparently he's also one of Xavius' satyr. And this is Paratharn. Great name, guy. And so he's going to be one of your first bosses. Next, apparently Queen Ajara's there. And I'm pretty sure this is Ajara pre... Nagafication. Thank you. That's exactly the word I was going to use too. This is Queen Ajara when she was Queen Ajara. So don't expect to see any cool, like, multi-tentacled, like 12-armed, half-naked she-serpent. She-serpent?
She-serpent.
Say that 12 times fast. You realize people are going to do that now. Anyway,
so I was actually considering doing it myself, but
yeah, we don't need to look like that. We already look like idiots. We don't need it anymore. But she'll be there, and she'll have a bunch of, like, magi sorcerers with her, and so you gotta fight them. And the last bosses of this place are Verothen, who is like Queen Ajara's personal bodyguard, and then Manaroth. I don't know, like, I guess Manaroth, for those of you who don't know, Manaroth is essentially the guy behind the blood curse of the orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the guy who's like, here, drink my blood. Nothing wrong with that. And so the orcs are all like evil, red-eyed bastards.
This is when the Horde was all hooked on V.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, of course, Manaroth gets killed with the brave sacrifice of Grom Hellscream. And Thrall's like, at the end of that scene in Warcraft 3. And so, in the future, Manaroth is dead. But apparently in this version, I assume this is going to be like, if I can just imagine this, I can assume this is going to be like Kil'jaeden from the Burning Crusade. He's going to be trying to come through the portal, because he would be like the first in the wave of Illidan's like major generals.
No, he's there. He gets in there.
Well, but I'm saying like in the game, because I can't imagine us killing him in the past.
Oh, I'm not. Well, I doubt that we're going to kill him, but I mean, I'm sure this will culminate that because you have to figure that we're at like the Well of Eternity. So one would
No, but I'm
assume that
saying,
it kind
like,
of
he's
follows
coming
the
through.
whole timeline. There is a part where they all get forced back into the portal.
Ooh,
So one would
interesting.
imagine that we are forcing them back. We are forcing him at that point back into the portal.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it would be kind of cool. I don't know if they'd ever do this, but like a fight in the portal, that'd be kind of badass. But I don't know how you'd pull that off. But that'd be kind of neat. And
Half
so
your sword would be on Azeroth, and the other half in the Twisting Nether.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Shut up, bro. So then, basically, our goal here is to steal the dragon soul. So that's our. I guess we're trying to steal it after he uses it, which is interesting. And then the last dungeon here is called the Hour of Twilight. And like we had said before, the Hour of Twilight is, in fact, the culmination of everything that has happened in history up to this point in time. It's from that moment when the Well of Eternity was destroyed and Deathwing laid waste to all the blue dragons and everything that happened in the past leads to this one point in the future. It's what Nosdormu was freaked out about. It's what Ysera had weird dreams about. It's basically the rise of the old gods and the destruction of the planet. And so this is the time that you are in the present, we'll say. So you went back to the future, then back to the past. Now you're going back to the present. And so, in this case, the way it works is that you have to escort Thrall and the Dragon Soul safely into Worm's Rest Temple, which is completely overrun by old god tentacles, which I guess is like a random old... I mean, is this the Nizoth guy? Is that who... I'm not sure what old god this is, but it's like big, ugly, tentacle face thing. It's basically the old god that's in the Twilight Highlands, I guess. But, so
yeah, I'm gonna say that that's probably correct. Yes.
So the old gods are trying to take over the area and prevent you from unleashing the power of the demon dragon soul on Deathwing and stopping him with whatever strategy you come up with. And so they pretty much send everyone they have at you. They got Twilight dragons and black dragons and cultists and all sorts of stuff. And so they have three main bosses here. There's a Curian, which is a like elemental. I think he's a water elemental. And basically he's being sent to slay Thrall, which I'm pretty sure he'll be a pushover. Because anyone who isn't like someone I've heard before, you're a punk. And WoW, you're a punk. And so the next character, of course, is Ysera Dawnslayer. And she's a former a Blade for Hire who
Ysera Sunbright. Okay.
Who was Ysera Sunbright. And apparently she works for the Twilight Hammer now, but honestly, I don't know if I know who this character is. Is there any lore on this person at all? Like, they have a backstory here, but it doesn't sound like I've ever heard this person before.
We're about to find out. Nope, I got nothing.
All right, so yeah, she doesn't exist. It's a nobody. Again,
like, it wasn't in my head, but it may have been in someone else's head, but apparently it's been in no one's head because there's nothing on her in any of my source materials.
All right, well then she's a nobody and a punk, so we're going to kill her too. But the next character, the final character of this, is one that if you read Twilight of the Aspects, you've been a member of the Alliance, which I haven't. Thank God. My people don't betray us, dick.
Okay, you sure about that? Because we can go into that for...
No.
How much time do we have left here?
The past is in the past. There's no reason...
Wait, are you sure about that?
Past is in the past. So, yeah, all right. Okay, then, Nosdormu. All right, so, of course, this is the Twilight Father, a.k.a. Archbishop Benedictus. If you read Twilight of the Aspects, like we've been talking about all damn day, basically, he's like Deathwing's #1 dude. And
the Twilight Father.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Twilight cult. And he's been secretly leading it in Stormwind, I guess. And so he's the last leader. And he basically is out to destroy all life. So, yeah. Gonna be fun kicking his ass. And essentially that's it. You have to keep Thrall alive. So I bet it's gonna be one of those, like, he's in the middle of the room. Or somewhere in the temple. And along the path you fight guys. And then Benedictus will show up at the temple and be like, I'm an old man and I'm evil. And then you have to fight him while Thrall forges the dragon soul. Pretty sure that's
yeah,
what it's gonna be.
he has to reforge the demon soul due to the fact that I want to say Ronan destroyed it and released all the initial power of the dragon aspects and their dragons to themselves. And
way to go, Ronan.
that's how they beat back Deathwing during that particular time in Day of the Dragon. And yeah.
All right, so then the next.
What amazes me is that Ronan's nowhere to be found in any of this. Like, what is Ronan doing?
Wouldn't he be back with Crassus and Broxigar in the past? Maybe
one would assume, yeah.
And maybe since this takes place in Northrend, maybe he'll show up, be like, "The power of Dalaran is with you, friends." I don't know.
I mean, let's be honest though. The best thing about this is that Illidan is back.
That's true. Illidan is one of those characters that I'm disappointed they got rid of early on. And then in the end, Kel'Thas was really the main bad guy of that expansion. Illidan was just like a punk that was like, "Man, nobody likes me."
Well, no, it was supposed to be Illidan. Like, the trailer and all this stuff is building up to Illidan to be this big badass dude, this misunderstood good guy who everyone thinks is a bad guy.
No, they didn't even do that. They made him a bad guy straight up, and he was never supposed to be that way.
No, he's not a bad guy.
How do we even get on this, by the way? I just want to point that out. Like, where did this come from?
I don't know.
Like, I guess it's
two nerds because we're talking about like characters who are there and not there, and then like we're like, well, I haven't seen anything about Ronan being anywhere in this like present time. Like, yeah, he'll probably.
You figure
he
would care too, right? Like, you figured he would be all about that.
He would. One would assume, yeah.
And so that's our look at the first 3 dungeons before the raid in patch 4.3. Now, there's a lot more to cover, and we're going to cover that, but we're going to do it in another video devoted just to the raid. So for those of you who only care about the raid content, that's where you're going to want to look. We'll have that up later tonight. Thank you guys for listening, watching, whatever you're doing, and I guess definitely to be continued.